Hey, it's E.B. Moss, and this is a bonus episode in Season 2 of Insider Interviews, where you get the insider scoop on the business of media, marketing, and advertising. And today, I'm interviewing me. I'm going to narrate an article that I recently wrote and had published in The Customer, and it's all about how podcasting drives love. It's a really important aspect of a B2B podcast, and you're going to hear what I mean if you just listen. And if you want to read along, visit thecustomer.net and search my name, E.B. Moss. Okay, here we go. So I finally got invited to meet my friend's girlfriend of about 8 months, whom I'm going to call Kay. My friend and I are like Jerry and Elaine with our own shorthand and a lot of history. So I was thrilled for his happiness with Kay and that she doesn't have man hands or laugh like Elmer Fudd. In fact, she is smart, she's funny, she's charismatic, and best of all, she's a fan of my B2B podcast, Insider Interviews with E.B. Moss, because my podcast made her fall in love with my friend. Wait, what? It's true. Kay told me that in vetting my friend, whom she met online, she did a little cyber stalking and discovered his appearance on my podcast. Now, to be fair, my friend, like most of my guests, is a kind of high-profile media marketing executive, and he's been on a lot of shows. But my secret ingredient is that I like to humanize my guests, disarm them. Anything from bad jokes to singing. Yeah. Anyway, in my friend's case, we reminisced about our friendship of something like 25 years, and to Kay, that was really endearing. A man who had a longtime female friend definitely passed muster with her. So bringing out the personal in my friend's executive brand sealed the deal beyond his ad in the personals. What I'm saying is that a personal touch is key for not just executives, but their companies too, or if you're running a personal. People place more trust in people they like. People buy from people they like and from brands that exhibit similar values to theirs and so on. And no other medium evokes more personal engagement and feel than podcasting. Why do I love podcasts so? Says the listener. There is the love of listening to podcasts per a study from Sounds Profitable, and the link will be in the show notes, which shows the clear passion for companionship provided by favorite hosts and shows. That companionship, or in my case, fangirling, of hosts like Will Arnett and Sean Hayes for their comic wit on shows like Smartless, or even business host James Cridland for his dry wit on Pod News Daily, all stems from feeling like we know them, that we have a relationship. Happily, Cridland is kind of within reach during events like Podcast Movement, even if Sean Hayes is my aspirational friend. Anyway, according to the Chief Creative Officer of Jar Audio, Jen Moss, no relation, listeners form a kind of parasocial bond with their favorite podcast hosts and love learning more about them along with the topic that the podcast is discussing. That's why it's so important for podcast hosts to be real, imperfect, and authentic. And that's what gives brands a halo. Here's what I mean. There's also the kind of lift that brands gain from not only being associated with those beloved hosts and shows, but also from creating their own non-salesy custom or branded podcasts. As described in the April 2024 issue of Inside Radio, research company Signal Hill Insights analyzed branded series for companies including Google, Dell, Ford, OnStar, and they found that they drive upper funnel and mid-funnel metrics for brands, including raising awareness, interest, and consideration. That's due in part to the impact branded series have on the audience's opinion of the brand. Remember, people buy from people they like. Significantly, the research showed 86% of the branded podcasts tested sparked an average 8-point increase in affinity score, creating a halo effect among those who heard the show. Signal Hill Insights found that some 61% of listeners have a more favorable opinion about a brand based on hearing the show the brand produced, said CEO Jeff Fiedler. He added that warm and fuzzy feeling starts with the podcast itself. And then best practices are to rinse and repeat. You can ask me how to produce your own branded show. But per Sounds Profitable, 41% of brand fans would opt to listen to a podcast about their favorite company or product. Branded or not, Jen Moss explains that warm and fuzzy response is due to the fact that podcasting, particularly audio podcasting, makes such a deep connection with the audience that it has to do with the co-authorship that's occurring. While the podcaster is talking, the listener is actively picturing what they're describing. It's a highly attenuated and engaged process, she says, as opposed to, say, watching a video where you tend to sit back and let it wash over you. Now, I call this section Getting Buzzed. Listeners get a good buzz from podcasting, also thanks to the literal buzz. As Moss adds, sound is physical. Sound waves are actual waves that impact your ear bones and cause them to vibrate. You have a physical reaction to sound, to the human voice, that's intimate and connected, and that's also why it's such a powerful medium. Now, for advertisers, it's really the whole package. As Jeff Fiedler notes, if the podcast delivers value, the listeners see it as a gift. The gift back to the brand is awareness, and per their research, an impressive 51% average brand recall, particularly if the show is well produced and entertaining. So how do we take it from the heart to the ears? Quality production is table stakes for growing an audience these days. Of the almost 400,000 shows out there, it's around 1% of the pie that command more than 30,000 listens or downloads monthly, making them of interest to bigger brands buying into them versus those who are going to just produce their own content. Still, there's something for everyone in podcast land, from niche topics to broad comedy and, yes, love stories. So, aggregating inventory lets brands tap into one of the most responsive audiences of any medium, podcasting. But it's a responsive audience for a reason, and it comes back to that intimacy. Podcasting isn't just about getting your message out, says the wise Heather Osgood, who's the founder of podcast rep firm True Native Media. It's about building a connection that transforms listeners into loyal brand advocates. When your audience feels like they're part of the conversation, brand love follows naturally. Of course, while trust in content and hosts and ad sellers is great, there should be impartial considerations too. Be objective, just like Kay in Vetting My Friend. Signal Hill Insights encourages objective analyses when measuring that brand love or lift. It includes asking the right questions, but especially ensuring a brand's own creative is, well, lovable too. And that's how podcasting leads to love. I'm E.B. Moss. Now, normally you can listen to all of my episodes featuring executives in media, marketing, and advertising. This was just a little sample of my point of view about podcasting and why I love it so. And if I can help you with your podcast, reach out to me at podcasts@mossappeal.com. Find me anywhere on social as Insider Interviews or Moss Appeal. And thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and sharing the love.